Isn't it profoundly sorrowful to witness the gradual departure of your revered idols from this world? The Byrds, trailblazers in the realm of folk rock, are slowly fading away as each member succumbs to heartbreaking deaths. Despite the inevitability of mortality, the successive losses have left the Byrds in a state of despair. Now, as ardent fans of the group, all that remains is to immerse themselves in the band's vibrant melodies, reminiscing about the enchanting memories and talents that once graced the stage. Join us as we delve into the collective tragedy surrounding the simultaneous demise of the Byrds members. Gene Clark. Harold Eugene Clark, better known as Gene Clark, was an influential figure in the history of American rock music, especially as a foundational member of the iconic band, the Byrds. Clark's early life was steeped in the rural landscapes of the Midwest, which would later influence his lyrical themes of longing, wanderlust, and introspection. The Clark family moved to Kansas City, Missouri, where Gene's formative years were spent absorbing a wide range of musical influences. His father played a pivotal role in nurturing his early fascination with music, exposing him to various genres and instruments. It wasn't long before Gene picked up the guitar and harmonica, showing a natural aptitude for both. Gene Clark's journey into music was marked by his innate talent and a deep-rooted passion for expression through song. In his teenage years, he began honing his skills as a musician, playing with local bands and immersing himself in the burgeoning folk music scene. His early experiences in Kansas City's music circles laid the foundation for his songwriting, which would soon gain national acclaim. In 1964, a pivotal year for music and for Clark, he helped form the Byrds, a band that would become synonymous with the folk rock movement. The Byrds' fusion of British invasion rock sounds with American folk was revolutionary, and Clark's contributions as a songwriter were central to their success. His talent for crafting lyrics that spoke to the human condition, combined with his understanding of melody and harmony, resulted in some of the band's most enduring songs. Among his compositions, I'll Feel a Whole Lot Better stands out as a quintessential Gene Clark song, featuring jangly guitars and relatable lyrics that resonated with listeners. Set You Free This Time, Here Without You, and You Won't Have to Cry further showcased his ability to convey deep emotional truths in just a few verses, wrapped in memorable melodies. Perhaps most notably, 8 Miles High is often cited as one of the first psychedelic rock songs, with its innovative guitar effects and evocative lyrics, inspired by the band's experiences. Despite his success with the Byrds, Clark's tenure with the band was relatively short-lived. He left in 1966, partly due to a fear of flying, which made touring difficult, and partly because of internal tensions. However, his impact on the band's early sound and success was indelible. Following his departure from the Byrds, Clark embarked on a solo career that, while never reaching the commercial heights of his former band, was artistically significant and influential. His solo work explored various musical styles, from country rock to Baroque pop, always underscored by his poignant songwriting. His ability to blend introspective lyrics with the band's innovative musical arrangements set them apart from their contemporaries and cemented their place in rock history. Despite his significant contributions, Clark's relationship with his fellow bandmates was complex, marked by both collaboration and contention. His talent for songwriting, while a driving force behind the band's success, occasionally became a source of friction. The music industry's standard practice of paying songwriters separately from performance royalties meant that Clark often received additional income for the songs he penned. This financial disparity led to tension within the group, as some members felt sidelined or undervalued. Clark's discomfort with touring exacerbated these tensions. His aversion to travel, particularly flying, was well documented and posed a challenge for a band in the throes of international stardom. This fear, along with the internal dynamics of the band, contributed to his decision to leave the Byrds in 1966. Despite these challenges, Clark's tenure with the band was marked by moments of brilliance that continued to influence musicians across genres. After departing the Byrds, Clark embarked on a solo career that, while never achieving the commercial success of his work with the band, allowed him to explore a wider range of musical styles and themes. His solo work is characterized by its depth and innovation, qualities that have led many to regard him as one of the most underrated singer-songwriters of his generation. Clark's influence on the development of folk rock and country rock is profound, with his songs continuing to resonate with new audiences. Despite his artistic achievements, Clark's later years were overshadowed by personal struggles. His health deteriorated, largely due to years of substance abuse, a common plight among musicians of his era who faced the pressures of fame and the rigors of life on the road. In early 1991, Clark was diagnosed with throat cancer, a devastating blow that was compounded by his ongoing battle with alcoholism. His health rapidly declined, and he tragically passed away in May 1991 from a bleeding ulcer related to his alcoholism. At the age of 46, the music world lost a seminal figure whose contributions had left an indelible mark on rock music. Gene Clark died in Sherman Oaks, California, but was laid to rest in his native Tipton, Missouri, bringing his story full circle back to the roots that had so deeply influenced his music and lyrics. His passing was a poignant loss for the music industry and for those who had followed his career from the Byrds' dizzying heights to his introspective solo work. Kevin Kelly. Kelly's musical journey began in his teenage years, a period marked by a burgeoning interest in various music genres and the burgeoning rock scene. His early decision to study the drums set the stage for what would become a lifelong dedication to music. Playing in his school's band provided Kelly with foundational experiences that honed his skills and deepened his appreciation for music. After high school, Kelly's path took a turn away from music as he served in the U.S. Marine Corps for 3 years. This period of his life, including a year spent living in Japan, likely exposed him to a broad spectrum of cultural and musical influences, enriching his understanding and appreciation of music's universal language. Upon his return to the United States, Kelly was more determined than ever to pursue a career as a drummer, a decision that would see him contributing to the evolving sound of the 1960s. During this decade, Kelly found himself in the thick of the folk rock movement, playing drums with various bands. This genre, known for its blending of traditional folk music elements with rock and roll rhythms and instruments, was the perfect backdrop for Kelly's drumming style, which was both versatile and dynamic. His ability to adapt to different musical settings and his understanding of the nuances of folk rock made him a valuable collaborator for many bands during this time. One of the most notable chapters in Kelly's musical career was his time with the Rising Sons, a band that included notable musicians such as Taj Mahal and Ry Cooder. The Rising Sons were signed to a record label and released music that, at the time, failed to achieve commercial success, leading to the band's breakup. This experience, while perhaps disappointing, was not uncommon in the rapidly changing music industry of the 1960s. The Rising Sons' music, much of which remained unreleased until the 1990s, would eventually be recognized for its contribution to the folk rock and blues genres, highlighting Kelly's early involvement in influential musical endeavors. Kevin Kelly's musical journey took a significant turn in the late 1960s, a pivotal moment that connected him with one of the era's most influential bands, the Byrds. At this time, Kelly was working at a men's clothing store, a job far removed from the musical career he aspired to. This period of his life changed dramatically when he was contacted by his cousin, Chris Hillman. Hillman, who was playing bass for the Byrds, reached out to Kelly with an opportunity that would briefly place him at the heart of the folk rock movement. Kelly's integration into the Byrds as the drummer was a significant milestone, marking his involvement with a band that had already made considerable waves in the music industry. However, his tenure with the Byrds was short-lived. The dynamics of band lineups are often fluid, subject to changes driven by creative differences, personal conflicts, or the evolving musical direction of the group. For Kelly, this meant being replaced by Clarence White, a decision that steered his career away from the Byrds and onto different paths. Despite this setback, Kelly's musical journey was far from over. He joined Fever Tree, a psychedelic rock band, for their album For Sale. This collaboration allowed Kelly to continue exploring the realms of rock music, contributing to a project that showcased his drumming skills and versatility. After his stint with Fever Tree, Kelly became a member of Gas Food Lodging, a band that further demonstrated his adaptability and commitment to his craft as a musician. As Kelly moved through various phases of his career, he also found work as a session drummer, a role that showcased his talent and reliability in the studio. He worked with a range of artists, including folk singer-songwriter Phil Ochs, guitar virtuoso John Fahey, and Michael Cohen. This phase of his career allowed Kelly to leave his mark on a variety of projects, contributing to the success of numerous recordings and further establishing his reputation as a skilled drummer. Kevin Kelly's musical legacy is defined not just by the bands he was part of, but also by his adaptability and the breadth of his collaborations. His ability to navigate the changing landscapes of the music industry, from the heights of playing with the Byrds to his valuable session work, speaks to his dedication to his art. Kelly's journey through the world of music came to a close on April 6, 2002, when he passed away from natural causes at the age of 59. Clarence White. Clarence Joseph LeBlanc made an indelible mark on the world of music as a guitarist, singer, and influential figure in the bluegrass and country rock genres. Best known for his contributions to the Kentucky Colonels and the Byrds, LeBlanc's musical journey was characterized by skillful performances, innovative contributions, and tragic circumstances. LeBlanc's early musical pursuits led him to become a prominent member of the bluegrass band the Kentucky Colonels, where his talent as a guitarist and singer began to shine. This experience set the stage for his later involvement with one of the most iconic bands of the 1960s, the Byrds. In July 1968, a pivotal moment unfolded in the Byrds' history when Graham Parsons, the band's singer and guitarist, departed. Clarence White stepped into this void, not merely as a temporary replacement, but as a vital force that would shape the band's musical direction. Becoming a full member of the Byrds, White played a crucial role in their transition toward a country rock sound, appealing to a new audience of country music fans. His adept guitar playing and vocals added a distinctive touch, contributing to the band's evolution during this period. One of White's significant contributions was his suggestion to replace drummer Kevin Kelly with his friend Gene Parsons. The collaboration between Clarence and Gene would later result in the invention of the B-bender, a guitar accessory that allowed players to bend the B string, simulating the tones of a pedal steel guitar. This innovation became a signature element in the country rock sound that the Byrds embraced. As a full-fledged member of the Byrds, Clarence White played a pivotal role in live performances and contributed to the production of some of the band's most successful albums. His influence was particularly evident in the albums Sweetheart of the Rodeo and Untitled, which marked a departure from their earlier folk rock sound and a deeper embrace of country influences. Tragically, Clarence White's promising career was cut short on July 15, 1973, when he was struck by a drunk driver while loading materials into his car. The music world lost a brilliant guitarist and innovative mind at the young age of 29. Mike Clark. Michael Clark would go on to become an integral part of one of the most influential bands of the 1960s, the Byrds. Before his tenure with the band, Clark's musical journey began in the vibrant jazz scene, a genre known for its complexity and improvisation. At the young age of 19, he was already a seasoned jazz drummer touring the country and honing his skills with various bands. This early exposure to the rigors of touring and the diverse musical landscapes of jazz would later inform his approach to rock drumming, blending technical proficiency with a flair for innovation. Clark's life took a pivotal turn when he found himself hitchhiking around California, a serendipitous adventure that led to his encounter with David Crosby. This chance meeting proved to be fortuitous, acting as the catalyst for Clark's introduction to other key figures in the burgeoning folk rock scene: Roger McGuinn, Chris Hillman, and Gene Clark. It was this quartet, along with Crosby, that would form the nucleus of the Byrds, a band that would leave an indelible mark on the music of the era. As the drummer for the Byrds from their inception in 1964 until 1968, Clark's contribution to the band's sound was significant. His drumming provided the backbeat to the jangly, 12-string Rickenbacker-driven melodies that became the Byrds' signature. Clark's ability to adapt his jazz background to the folk rock and psychedelic sounds the band was exploring helped to create a unique sonic landscape that was both innovative and influential. However, Clark's journey with the Byrds was not without its challenges. In 1985, nearly 2 decades after he had left the band in 1968, Clark found himself embroiled in legal trouble with the remaining members of the Byrds. He had begun performing under the band's name, a move that led to disputes over the rights to the Byrds' name and legacy. This legal battle highlighted the complex relationships and tensions that can arise over band names and trademarks, issues that are not uncommon in the music industry. Though not as prolific a songwriter as some of his bandmates, Clark contributed to the creation of songs such as Captain Soul from the album Fifth Dimension and Artificial Energy from the notorious Byrd Brothers. These tracks showcased the band's willingness to experiment with different sounds and genres, blending rock with elements of jazz and psychedelia, and in the case of Captain Soul, highlighting Clark's rhythmic prowess. Clark's musical interests extended beyond the rock and folk rock domains for which the Byrds were most famous. He had a profound appreciation for country and Western music, a genre that would significantly influence the Byrds during his tenure with the band, most notably on the seminal album Sweetheart of the Rodeo. This interest in country music led him to collaborate with the Flying Burrito Brothers, a group founded by former Byrds members Graham Parsons and Chris Hillman, which further cemented Clark's involvement in the country rock movement that the Byrds had helped pioneer. In addition to his work with the Flying Burrito Brothers, Clark also performed with other notable acts, including Firefall and Jerry Jeff Walker, showcasing his versatility and continuing to make his mark on the music scene even after his time with the Byrds had ended. During his later years, Clark found new creative outlets beyond music. Alongside his wife, Lee, he ventured into songwriting, an endeavor that allowed him to express himself in new ways and explore different aspects of his musicality. Clark also took up oil painting, a hobby that provided him with a form of artistic expression distinct from his musical career. Clark settled in Treasure Island, Florida, during the final years of his life, where he continued to engage with his creative pursuits until his untimely death in 1993 at the age of 47. His passing, attributed to liver failure as a consequence of heavy drinking, marked the end of a career that, while sometimes tumultuous, was undeniably influential. Skip Baton Clyde. Skip Baton was a versatile and prolific figure in the music industry, leaving a lasting impact as a singer-songwriter and bassist for several notable bands, including the Flying Burrito Brothers, the New Riders of the Purple Sage, and most prominently, the Byrds. His multifaceted career spanned various musical genres and artistic endeavors. Baton's journey into the world of entertainment began in the early 1960s when he explored acting, landing bit parts in independent films and TV shows. However, his true calling lay in music, and by the mid-1960s, he formed the folk rock group Evergreen Blue Shoes. The band released an album, but unfortunately, it did not achieve the success they had hoped for, leading to the eventual dissolution of the group. In 1970, Skip Baton embarked on one of the most successful chapters of his career when he assumed the role of bassist for the Byrds. This period marked a creative peak for Baton, as he contributed to the band's sound during a transformative period in their musical evolution. Over the next 3 years, he recorded 3 albums with the Byrds, albums that showcased his adept bass playing and vocal harmonies. His tenure with the Byrds also included extensive touring, solidifying his reputation as a skilled live performer. Beyond his time with the Byrds, Skip Baton continued to make valuable contributions to the music industry as a session musician and collaborator with other bands throughout the 1970s and 1980s. His versatility and proficiency as a bassist made him a sought-after presence in various musical projects. However, the 1990s brought a challenging turn in Baton's life when he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. The progressive nature of the illness forced him to step away from his music career, marking a poignant and difficult transition for the accomplished musician. Despite this setback, Baton's legacy remained intact, with his earlier contributions continuing to resonate in the annals of rock and country rock history. Tragically, Skip Baton passed away in 2003 due to complications from Alzheimer's disease. He was 69 years old. His enduring impact on the music world, particularly during his time with the Byrds, stands as a testament to his talent and versatility. Baton's legacy lives on through the recordings and performances that shaped the sound of the bands he was part of, leaving an indelible mark on the rich tapestry of American music. Graham Parsons. Ingram Cecil Connor III, who would later gain fame under the stage name Graham Parsons, was a pivotal figure in the evolution of country rock and is remembered for his profound influence on the genre. Parsons grew up immersed in a world that was a far cry from the musical legacy he would eventually create. During his teenage years, his interest in folk rock music began to blossom, marking the beginning of a journey that would lead him to become one of the most influential musicians of his time. His early exploration of music saw him learning to play the guitar and piano, skills that would serve as the foundation for his songwriting and performances. By the late 1960s, Parsons' path intersected with that of the Byrds, a band that was at the forefront of the folk rock movement. His initial role with the Byrds was somewhat unconventional, as he first served as a jazz pianist, a testament to his versatile musical abilities. However, his talents were destined to shine brighter on the guitar and as a vocalist, roles that he soon adopted within the band. Despite his significant contributions to the Byrds' music, Parsons was never fully integrated as a full member of the band. This status, coupled with creative differences and other factors, led to his departure from the Byrds after a relatively brief tenure. The year 1969 marked a new chapter in Parsons' career as he and Chris Hillman, a fellow former member of the Byrds, founded the Flying Burrito Brothers. This venture allowed Parsons to delve deeper into the country rock genre, blending traditional country elements with rock and roll in a way that was groundbreaking at the time. His work with the Flying Burrito Brothers further cemented his influence on the music scene, even though his time with the band lasted only about a year. Following his departure from the Flying Burrito Brothers, Parsons embarked on a solo career, a period that would see him refining his vision for country rock and influencing future generations of musicians. Despite the challenges he faced, including struggles with substance abuse, Parsons' dedication to his craft remained unwavering. His solo work, characterized by heartfelt songwriting and a unique blend of country and rock, showcased his talents as a musician and songwriter. Graham Parsons' untimely death in September 1973 sent shockwaves through the music industry, leaving behind a legacy defined not only by his artistic contributions, but also by the tragic circumstances of his passing. At the age of just 26, Parsons had already made significant strides in reshaping the landscape of folk rock and country rock. In the days leading up to his demise, Parsons, captivated by the allure of Joshua Tree National Park, found himself wandering through its vast and rugged terrain. This fascination with the desert landscape became intertwined with a darker aspect of his life, marked by experimentation with drugs. His time in Joshua Tree would become the backdrop to the final chapter of a life that burned brightly but briefly. The fateful end came when Parsons was discovered lifeless in his room at the Joshua Tree Inn. The cause of death was determined to be an overdose of morphine, a substance that, when combined with the excess consumption of barbiturates and alcohol in his last days, proved to be a lethal cocktail. The circumstances surrounding his death underscored the darker side of the rock and roll lifestyle and the toll it could take on even the most promising talents. What followed in the aftermath of Parsons' death was an incident that added an unexpected and surreal dimension to his story. Phil Kaufman, Parsons' manager, and Michael Martin, his assistant, took it upon themselves to fulfill an alleged wish of the late musician, to be cremated in the desert. In a daring and unconventional move, they stole Parsons' body from Los Angeles International Airport and transported it to Joshua Tree. There, they carried out a partial cremation, burning part of Parsons' remains in an attempt to honor his wishes. What do you think about the departure of the members of the band, the Byrds? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.